Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Hope everything is going well. I'm the host of the SOS the Shout Out Show, Preacher Moss, in case you didn't know. We got a great show scheduled for you today. Um, Actually, taking some time with this. We had some incidents of what's being categorized as anti-Semitism, which is interesting because it's anti-Semitism, and it's not, it's that first. It's not a hate crime. And I took some time to do the delineation, did a little research, a little homework, and I found some really interesting things about what's going on in the American public in the context of hate crimes, delineation, I want to say race identity politics. And then again, there's a backdrop of everything with immigration and ICE. But it's a really interesting thing because there is a historical piece that potentially we're missing. And when I say a historical piece that we're potentially missing, basically because people don't want you to know. If it's missing because people have taken it out of the vernacular, out of the public opinion, and if you're not, and I would say this, I caution you as I caution myself, if you don't catch things when they happen, if you're a month or 2 months or 3 months late to the party, there's a good chance you won't find out what happened. With all the distractions and just, I want to say, just massive output of information and data, we tend to look at some of the things that look small, but they have, a huge impact on how we live our lives, how we pay our taxes, how we have health insurance. Medicaid is under assault right now. Obamacare is under assault right now. There's things that we'll look at in terms of being the bigger picture, like tariffs, not understanding that the undergirding, that the things that are going on with the Department of Education, the things that are going on, not with immigration, check this out, with the health Department of Health is something that we also need to take a look at, because this whole idea of Medicaid and things like that cuts insurance loss. When you're talking about millions of people being off insurance rolls, they're talking about 11 million people being on off the insurance rolls with President Trump's big, beautiful bill, which is, it's a crock. I've talked to you guys about how corporations run. America is trying to be corporatized. The deal with them being corporatized is they're using all of public tax money to do it. So imagine you open a company, you take everybody's money and you make money, but you don't distribute. There's no dividends sent out to the people that invest in your company. That's exactly what's going on. And I don't have to say this, even at my level, I'm not going to say I'm going to be in a room with these people to make these decisions. That's higher up. These are hidden rooms. That's America. That's the way it works. But I will take the time today to kind of talk about how this thing is working. It's been a real slow process. And then it's not been a slow process. It's been a hidden process. And many of us have snoozed through it. We slept through it. We thought everything was going to be all right. We thought people were going to react with fairness, justice, and I would say just logic. But this is not the time for logic. These particular times, they don't denote logic. So I was supposed to turn on. I was supposed to turn on Instagram. So thought, but I didn't do it. But let me be clear about today's episode. I've got to give you history. And so some of you it's going to hurt. But I need you to have this history to understand while it will hurt in the short term, it does give you a foundation to start looking at your liberation process, looking at how you affect politics, looking at how you can have an agenda that is not just your agenda, but an agenda that everybody can be a part of. The issue right now is partisan politics, but also the issue is partisan cultural politics, whereby everybody has a gripe, but we don't get together. That's what we're going to talk about here on the Shout Out Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about understanding anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, and anti-Black hate. They ain't all the same. We'll be back here on the Shout Out Show. Don't you move. right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Want to give some shout outs to our shout out family. Want to give a shout out Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My main man, Altaf Rashid. What's going on, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All the way from Canada. No tariffs, no tax, no borders, no issues, no immigration. He's here every Wednesday, brothers and sisters. One of our day one. We call him Mr. 6 o'clock. Straight up, straight down. Shout out to you and your family, my dear beloved brother. Also want to give a shout out, of course, to our executive producer, Sister Satana Whitfield. Want to give a shout out to JT, better known as Johnny L. Thomas, out in Instagram land. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Alta Finsta, I think that's what I saw. Alta Finsta, thank you so much for joining us as well. Valentine Queen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. And also want to give a shout out to all the graduates, one special graduate in mine, Ahuda School. Thank you so much. Great weekend. I'll probably be talking about that in mass because I really want to talk about the youth and the future of our youth. And, so much more than graduations that, these kids coming out today have to be so fine-tuned to their environment. And what I mean by that is, they have to be original and organic because there's so much stuff out there that leads to you not having to be original and organic. I'm talking about AI, artificial intelligence, the fact now that people believe that they can get ahead with AI. And when they say that, it means that they don't believe in hard work. They don't necessarily believe in competition. I'm going to talk about AI also in this space, about anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, and anti-Black hate, because anti-Black hate is the original racism. Anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, it falls in a category, but it is distinguished. And we really need to talk about that. I want to give a shout out to my main man, Bilal Salahuddin, and his queen, Sister Sonia Dr. Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, this is not an easy topic, because I've had to have this topic. I had to have this conversation with somebody who's really near and dear to me. And I'm going to be honest that when we left that conversation, we were not on the same friendship footing. Because you have to be real. You have to be real. Sometimes you can't spare feelings. We're in a space right now where the drive for anti-Semitism is the drive to be able to oppress other people. You see, the concept of anti-Semitism is a word that allows breathing space for you not to have to say Zionism. And Zionism has found a home under anti-Semitism, though they're two different things. Though Zionism has no ties whatsoever with a religious edict, it now has found a place for anti-Semitism because there are those, particularly here in the United States, that misuse the term, that somehow put a label of anti-Semitism over everything and leave it strategically very broad, so it can be interpreted any way that they want to. But history is the thing that's missing here. There are three ideas: anti-Semitism, that deals with Jewish faith and history; anti-Arab racism, that deals with Arab history; and anti-Black racism deals with history. Two of those are immigrant issues. Two of those are about what happened in the Middle East and Germany and in the Palestine area, right? The African American journey here in the United States is not, brothers and sisters, an immigrant story. It's not an immigrant story. It's a captivity story. And the captivity story is only preceded by the fact that there's an annihilation story of Native Americans, First Nations people here in the United States. That the European came here and found a pause, if you will, found a pause where they can rewrite history. That if you, in some regards, get rid of Native Americans, you don't have to worry about what you did to Native Americans. And even in the space of African American existence, presence, and I want to say advocacy, there's always going to be a fight against what actually happens. Case in point, Black Wall Street, which is much worse than it actually is. which is much worse than actually is, that the people were murdered, they were massacred, and the United States government dropped bombs on its own people. I want to tell folks why this is important. Because if you have the opportunity and you have the bully pulpit, you can do these things here in the United States. The issue with anti-Arab hate and anti-Arab anti-Semitism is for a long time, brothers and sisters, they didn't have a platform. They didn't have a space. Like there was the history of African Americans, the missing history of Native Americans. But the difference is, in the immigration story, is that you had a choice. That somehow you found paperwork, you found presence, you found opportunity, you recognized these things, and you made a choice. Anti-Black racism is spurned from the fact that there's always going to be that because African Americans are still fighting for the most basic of rights here in the United States. They weren't given. And in juxtaposition of anti-Semitism, in juxtaposition of the anti-Arab causes, I want you to understand, we love you, we understand, but the challenges are not the same. If you say the benchmark for Jewish struggle is the Holocaust, fine. But where did the Holocaust happen? In Germany. Even if we talk about the Nakba, for my Palestinian brothers and sisters, but where did it happen? It happened in the Middle East. To come here to the United States is difficult because those stories don't necessarily parlay, because America as a whole, African Americans as a whole, Native Americans as a whole, Latinos as a whole, still deal primarily with the suffrages of white supremacy as an institutional foundation. This is the thing that allows people to stay in certain positions and manipulate. As I've said often, the United States is a place that's very litigious. Thus, a metaphor. If Sister Satana and I are playing a basketball game, a free throw game, we say the best out of 10, Sister Satana beats me in shooting free throws. She shoots 8 out of 10. I shoot 4 out of 10. We go again. I shoot 5 out of 10. She shoots 9 out of 10. In America, the solution for how I deal with Sister Satana is I now make a law. And I say, Sister Satana, you can shoot free throws, but you can't shoot with your right hand. You got to shoot with your left hand, and your eyes have to be closed. This group of people over here, we made it a law. We didn't include you, but we made it a law. Now, this might burn a couple people up, but let's just get burned up. America has been and will be and will continue to be infiltrated by foreign interests. Infiltrated by foreign interests. That people will take these issues that I said, Holocaust was in Germany, now it's come here. Now, this is some regards like Germany, except there are no Germans here. That if you disagree with my point of view, then all of a sudden you take on the characters of all these other people. It's reverse psychology, brothers and sisters. That if you say, there's an old joke, it's not a great joke, but it's an old joke. One of those damned if you do, damned if you don't jokes. If I yelled out to Sister Satana, hey, Sister Satana, you still beating you beat your husband? If she says no, the implication is that she stopped beating her husband. If she says no, it means that she's still beating her husband. And this is the flexibility and the pliability of these laws now. Here in the United States, and let's be honest, this started with the LGBTQ community who raked everybody over coals if you said something remotely derogatory about their community. They attacked you, and without any laws, somehow were able to get people moved out of position, get them fired, get them blackballed from jobs. I remember Kevin Hart did a joke years ago. Someone went on Twitter and found the joke, and he wound up not doing the Academy Awards or whatever, with the Emmys or whatever it was. He didn't do it. He didn't. And the idea that now, The perfunctory issue is now we wanted these things we want to punish. We don't want explanation. We want to punish. There's a punitive effect of these things that are going on. Here in the United States, there were laws that are passed, and now those laws are just sitting on the books in a bunch of states around the United States. It's called the BDS. Now, for those who don't understand the BDS boycott, what is boycott, diverse, whatever, sanctions, whatever. The issue of the BDS was that a foreign entity, Israel, was coming in and telling the United States, you need to tell your people that when we do something, if they speak against it, they speak against us, me and you. We are lockstep, meaning that I don't pay, and the sad part is these are public jobs. There are people who weren't be able to renew their contracts because they didn't agree with what they said, and they didn't agree what was said. And even this was, I want to say, a foundation for what you see in these colleges and universities around. This is an outgrowth of BDS. The colleges now have to subscribe to the same particular colleges that receive any kind of government funding that you now have to. That's why they talk about anti-Semitism. That's why Harvard is going through what it's going through. Because there's a BDS foundation behind this, that if anybody, listen to me, if anybody in that school says something that's counter to Zionist sensibilities or feelings, then the whole group is somehow liable. That one apple makes the rest of the apples in the barrel, somehow rotten is crazy, but then again, strategic. The inability in some regards for a movement, a mass labor movement dealing with the atrocities and genocide in Palestine and Gaza, it largely has to do with the fact that many people, the politicians, follow the same rules as the Zionists. That if you are not talking about our topic the way we want you to talk about it, if you're not using our platform somehow, some way, in the Muslim community, you are not a good Muslim, or you are against Palestine. These are two international crises that have nothing to do with the price of cheese or milk in the grocery store around the corner. That many of us are being forced into making or choosing sides in international crisis that has nothing to do with us. The African American still has to look at all these things, and because we're human, because we have love and mercy and compassion, not just our community, but a lot of communities, that we are drawn in. We know right from wrong. However, it cannot be forced on me that I choose right and wrong for your purposes. Recently, we had a spate of attacks on Jewish people, right? I can't tell you how many people came out, Muslims, they condemned it. We condemn this, we condemn that, we condemn this. CARE, a bunch of agencies did that. But when you normally have condemned it anyway, do we need to make a public proclamation about what's logical? Who in the world would endorse these attacks? Right? Who would endorse these attacks? Nobody. I didn't have to make a press release to say that this is what happened was whack, it's a disaster, it's a crime. No. But why do we have to do it? Let me give some shout outs to people. Okay, we got B Don Pessy. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum. We got Blue Midnight Enterprise. Glad to have you. Haja Adekola. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me put this thing in, and I don't want to put it in a bubble. What's going on, brother Eric from Kakalaki? Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shout out to Ree. How you doing? Let me put this in a bigger bubble for you, a tighter bubble. The amount of confusion has been funneled. It's been funneled. It's been processed. It's been distributed. And one of the ways they're doing it, brothers and sisters, is through social media, and not just social media. It's the use of AI. It's the use of AI. AI has allowed people not to think. I can give you a prompt, but I can give you A, but I don't have to take it all the way to Z. Here in the United States, the whole idea of anti-Semitism is you have A, I don't have to worry about getting into Z. I don't have to have a logical argument. There will be, listen to me, there will be attacks on African Americans. But let me show you how crazy this is. One of our leaders of our community, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when's the last time he got attacked? When's the last time in the last couple of years that the ACLU or Zionists, whatever, have gone after him? I'm talking about really gone after him, because this would be the time to do it, right? You have public opinion, you have the politicians in your pocket. Why they don't go after him? And I'm going to tell you why they don't go after him. Because to go after him, he's going to tell you what the strategy is that you're using, why it doesn't necessarily work on his group, why it doesn't necessarily work on African Americans, but he's going to give you a history lesson. And in that history lesson, you're going to delineate that these problems, brothers and sisters, are genuine problems. Don't get me wrong, they're genuine problems. But the manufactured level of concern and activism sometimes has to be questioned. I can't believe that you told me something and not investigate. I can't take it for granted what you're saying. There's several, oh my gosh. There are a bunch of episodes of the ShOUT show when I just did forecasting. And I remember talking about Hamas and how Hamas was now being accused of sexual assault of hostages. I remember I said that. And I said, this will be something to bludgeon home when you put it on. And as soon as I said it, it was on media. It was on social media. It was this, that. And then you turn around and years later, you see about how people in Gaza have been sexually assaulted. And why am I saying that? Because history shows, brothers and sisters, that this is what happened during the Holocaust. This is what happens when a group of people decide to oppress another group of people, and they feel like they have presence to do so, and they have leeway to do so, and have a pathway to. They do it. Just the whole idea that people can be evil if you give them an opportunity, it holds major sway. Now, somebody said, Preach, what are we going to do about this anti-Semitism? First of all, it needs to be renamed. It can't be everything. It can't be everything. There are going to be some crimes, whether you like it or not. They're crimes. Somebody had a bad idea or a corrupt thought, and they executed a crime. The backdrop of the people who were shot in D.C. and Colorado, with people trying to not protest, but bring awareness to hostages, Israeli hostages. There's going to be that element that's disturbed, that's deranged, and they do those things. There's a book I have. My friend L.A. Hardy just bought it, and it is a photojournalism account of lynchings in the United States. Lynchings in the United States. I bought this book probably 4 years ago. I never opened it because I'm like, man, it's just probably going to wreck my soul. I might not even be able to do stand-up effectively after reading it. In fact, it was referred by actor-director Bill Duke, if you remember him. what he said was, in those pictures, you looked at a culture. Hear me now. You looked at a culture, and at every hanging, what did you see? Aside from a dead black body, you saw children. You saw children that were brought to a hanging, right? Children that were brought to a hanging. And this is what delineates anti-black hate, because that type of hate, brothers and sisters, that type of barbarism, brothers and sisters, resonates in culture for years. There are no anti-lynching laws that have been passed. It resonates for years. It makes a cultural impact and imprint that we can't move away from. Though the roasts may be gone and the trees may be gone, you still have the badges, you still have the laws on the books. You know, George Floyd, if you will, he was not lynched from a tree. He was lynched by a public servant. And even in that space, time is our biggest enemy. Because given the right amount of environment and time, we will not be talking about George Floyd in the next year, because there'll be so much other stuff coming down the road. At the same time, 2 people were murdered. 2 people from Jewish family were murdered. And it got press in the United States, as it should. At the same time that happened, 17 people were killed in Gaza at food distribution centers. 17. What's the difference? The difference is that struggle is politicized. That struggle is connected to this struggle. And again, you now have to make a choice. The quality of life. Someone said, I think it was Sheikh Hamza used to say, why is the value of a Jewish baby more than the value of a Palestinian baby? What is the thing that removes this parity in life? And what I would suggest, and be careful how to say this. What I would suggest is look at the history that's being removed. Look at the players. Look at the players and the actors that have aggressively tried to move and remove aspects of history. The whole demonization of critical race theory. Think about the people who did that. And it wasn't in the colleges, brothers and sisters, though you did have critical race theory being taught in the colleges. They brought it to an elementary level. Elementary school kids do not learn about critical race theory. This is a legal stratagem. You're telling me first and second year kids, second graders are worried about the law? They are not. But this overemphasis, if you will, that society and the environment is so polluted that the only way we can conclude and remove this virus is eliminate all the history that goes along with it. This, brothers and sisters, is the larger crime of this administration and some of the previous administrations, but this one in particular. So keep your eye on the Department of Education, keep your eye on Department of Health, because these, brothers and sisters, are under attack. And as we look at anti-Semitism, anti-Arab racism, and anti-Black racism, be very careful to say. The game is in effect. Read, investigate, repeat. Read, investigate, repeat. My name is ShOUT, Preacher Moss. That's it for the shout out show today. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. We'll be back next week. We're going to be talking about mental health in the Muslim community with Dr. Qureshi. She's going to be here on the show. We might do an expanded Spanish show, maybe about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. A great mental health person out of Baltimore. Muslim sister, very strong in a concept of us talking about our own personal wellness and mental health. Make sure you're here. We'll see you then. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace. Preacher Moss.